So basically the plan for today is for me to show you how to conduct an experiment. You use my figures to have a little practice, do the maths to calculate a certain distance that you'll see when I do the experiment. And then the idea is that hopefully you will be able to get together enough equipment and things like that in your own house to be able to do it yourselves. So the things that I will be using are, so first off, I've got this this yearbook that is basically you just need some sort of hard surface. So nice and flat and hard so that if something gets put, a weight gets put on this, it's not going to bend, it's not going to do anything weird. Ideally quite smooth as well, so there's not too much friction or anything on it. So that's the first thing. Then what we also need is basically, I've done 2 tins, so I've got some coconut milk and some sweet corn. But basically we just need 2 things that are sturdy enough to hold the book's weight, that are 2 different heights. Doesn't matter, they don't have to be the same thing. It could be a tin and a tub. It could be different stacks of books, whatever. When you see me do the experiment, you'll be able to decide what sort of thing you can use. But yeah, 2 things that have different heights that I can rest the book on. Then we also need a ruler of some description or something to measure with. So when I practiced this experiment before, I did use this ruler. However, in the video, I will be using this lovely plank of wood here. You can hopefully just about see that the plank of wood is kind of labelled with distances on it. I'm not just making them up. This is from a previous experiment I've done in other classes. So I'll be using this to measure. I'll be using this to measure, 1, because it's longer, and 2, you can see that it starts right on the surface here, whereas on a ruler, there is this kind of little bit here, and we're going to be measuring kind of things, how far they are off the ground. So having that little extra bit there would distort my figures. So I use this. You can use a piece of paper. You can like measure out the centimeters on a piece of paper. You can use this. You just need to remember to take off however long that little bit is as well. Okay, and then we also need some sort of cylinder. I've got an empty jar of curry sauce. I say it's empty. I have filled it perfectly, perfectly full with water just to make it a bit heavier, to slow it down a bit more. But yeah, any sort of cylinder, anything that will roll basically. And then the last thing you are going to need is, you see, I filmed this on a nice, beautiful rug. It's quite old, so a rug. Now you need something with a little bit of texture on it. So basically something that is going to create some sort of friction that's going to slow down the thing rolling. So it can be a rug, a carpet, it could be the grass outside if you have a garden outside, you could use that. Worst case, like a pair of trousers or something, that would be quite hard. You need quite big trousers. But yeah, anything that has a bit of texture to it as best you can. You can have you put a sheet on the ground or something. But yeah, if you did it on like wood, it might just be a little bit too smooth, and yeah, it wouldn't work necessarily as well. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a slope with this book. We're going to then roll the jar down the slope from different heights and see if we can guess how far it will end up going. So that's the reason why we've got 2 different heights things. These are just for the book or whatever you have to balance on. And so then we are going to roll. Let me line this up a little better actually. Let's go here. That'll work at the end of the mat there. Okay, so we're going to get the jar. Now we need to measure how far off the ground the jar starts. So the bit that we need is the point where it touches, like how far that point where it touches is above the ground. So if I measure that is approximately 10.5 centimeters. So I will then roll it down. And then I need to measure, okay, how far did that go? So let's grab this. So unfortunately, so let's line it up. I've got some nice lines on my mat, so it's easy for me to do. So what have we got? There's 60 centimeters, and then line it up again. So 60, 70, 80, 90, and then you kind of want the midpoint, so where it's touching the ground, that's the distance you want. So 90, that would be 94 centimeters. So 94 centimeters from the bottom of the slope to where the jar stopped. Okay, so what we need to do now is raise the slope. So we need to make the slope taller. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to roll it down the slope. And I'm going to pause the video before it stops. And you guys need to estimate how far you think it will end up going. So, get my jar. I'm going to put this behind just to give it an extra bit of support there so it doesn't slide out. So, first I need to measure how far off the ground this is. So, this, if I measure it, again, at the tip where it touches there, that is approximately 14 centimeters off the ground. So I need to make sure it goes nice and straight, and then